Welcome to SNNLive. We're broadcasting from our studios in Los Angeles, California. I'm Shelley Kraft, and today we have with us Robert Goldstein of US Nuclear Corp. It's a publicly traded company, and the symbol is UCLE. Bob, welcome back to SNNLive.
Oh, thanks for having me, Shelley.
Good to have you. And we also have with us Jeri Donaldson of Flycam UAV, a private company. Jeri, welcome to SNNLive.
Thank you very much for having me.
Good to have you. You know, Bob, first of all, of course, welcome back. And the last time you were here, I said, when you have a big announcement and you make a press release, I want to have you back in. And here you are. So let's start out with an overview of the company first, and then, you know, go from there and tell us about your press release and any new events.
Great, thanks. US Nuclear is a world-renowned maker of radiation sensors. We are also coming out with chemical sensors. We stem from the Los Alamos Manhattan project that built the bomb back in World War II, but we brought the technology a long ways forward from there. Recently we had a press release. We have a strategic alliance with Flycam. This is Jeri Donaldson, and she's going to tell you a little bit about it.
Well, thanks for throwing it back to me. Let's get a little bit of information to start with about Flycam UAV. And it's a drone company, isn't it?
That's correct.
So tell us a little bit about it.
Flycam UAV started in 2014. My partner and I, who was a camera operator for film and television for 20 years, decided it was time to stop carrying 40-pound cameras on his shoulder and come up with a better way to get those epic shots. So we decided that we would start mounting cameras on drones, and from there we started building our own custom-build drones. And we opened a retail store, and we were able to help other camera operators fill their needs for aerial photography, and just sort of went from there. And then one day Bob walked into our store and said, "Can you guys mount a sensor on a drone?" And since we like challenges, we said, yeah, let's give it a shot. And so that started the partnership.
That's an interesting and fun story, by the way. What gave you the practicality of recognizing the fact that you had to put these sensors on drones? Where did that idea come from? Obviously, before drones, how were you doing it?
Well, before drones, we make fixed mount air monitors and water monitors, and we have them on carts if they're too big and heavy. So we're used to a variety of formats. Sometimes people ask us to make sensors that they can wear on their belt or even on their lapel. And so I'm just sitting around with some friends in the evening and thinking about those lightweight lapel and belt sensors. And I said, you know, that could go on a drone. And then it went from there.
So you came up with the idea of mounting your sensors on drones.
Yeah.
So then what did you do from there?
Well, so I Googled drones in Los Angeles, and I was looking for a store that I could go in because I didn't know how to explain it on the telephone. And so I was searching and searching, and then actually I think they were just opening their store, because I searched again and I hadn't seen any local stores, but there they were. So I jumped in my car and went over and said hi.
So now you have this mad scientist, right, walking into your store and saying, "Hey, can you mount these sensors on your drones?" And you said,
"Sure." We love challenges, so we were very excited. And we're always looking for new applications for drones. We wanted to kind of be cutting edge, where a lot of people had already saturated the market with real estate photography and production work, agriculture. We thought this was an avenue that would be unique and something that we could really, really immerse ourselves in.
This is an interesting combination of technologies. Now, let's start out with the types of sensors that you're going to mount on the drones, and then let's go back to you and get an idea of why drones and how they can get into areas that other ways couldn't do.
Sure.
Bob.
Our core business has been making radiation sensors of all types, and we're one of our important customer groups are first responders and investigators. National agencies buy our stuff to do whatever they do, and so we're looking for smugglers bringing in dirty bomb material. We're looking for lost sources. We're helping miners to check their mine tailings to see if it's radioactive. We're looking downfield on the firing range for the depleted uranium spent shells, and we're also looking for airborne radioactive particulates. Now, so that we're giving the drones more senses. You know, the drones have vision and hearing sometimes, but we have 5 senses. Why can't the drones do better? So we're giving them a sense of smell with the chemical sensors and able to see radiation, which people can't do. So chemical sensors, we're using them for detecting methane to make sure the guys in the oil fields don't asphyxiate themselves, because you can't always tell. And we're looking for diesel fumes in LA Harbor to make sure that the people in Long Beach aren't being gassed. So a lot of different applications.
Now, drone-wise, obviously you're putting a machine to work as they would a robot to work, where the human life doesn't have to be at risk doing the detection work.
Right.
So also, if there's God forsaken, a plane crash on the side of a mountain that's almost next to impossible to reach, obviously a drone has easy accessibility.
Right.
So answer those kinds of ideas. And then what about weather? How do you deal with various different weather? Because it's not always sunny California, right?
Right, right. Most importantly, we're able to take the human element out of the equation. So when there is a threat, biological, chemical, being able to, as you mentioned, have a robot go in and take care of that for us is certainly paramount in this. And when there's a disaster and you can't reach the location because of debris or, like you mentioned, maybe on the side of a mountain, the drones are ideal for getting in. And they cover a larger area than humans could, or if it was fixed mounted on a vehicle, we can cover more area, we can cover it much more quickly, and again, take that human element out of it. And as far as weather goes, we do have an all-weather drone that is perfect for, in rainy situations, in snow, in high winds, because natural disasters or radiological disasters don't always happen on a perfect day. So we want first responders to not be limited by the weather. So
Jeri, from the point that the operator is sitting, to the point of where the drone is being operated, how great a distance can that be covered?
It has to stay within visual line of sight, and that would be about 3/4 of a mile.
Okay, now this is, new territory. This is cutting-edge technology. Has the FAA put down laws that are recurring, that are new, that are changing constantly? I mean, really.
Currently, the FAA, as I mentioned, requires all operators to operate within visual line of sight. They did actually make an allowance for drone operators in Alaska who are inspecting the pipeline there, and they're able to fly beyond visual line of sight. So we see the FAA starting to loosen up some of their regulations when they realize, the benefits that would come along with that. So we're hoping that in the very near future, with respect to first responders and disasters and chemical threats, that visual line of sight will be a thing of the past.
Now, Bob, let me throw this question to you.
Yeah.
In the same realm. Your sensors have to be either lowered or raised or, go over a certain area to get a corresponding signal of some kind. Am I correct?
Right.
So the benefit to you is that they could virtually go up or down. How high could they go, and how low can they go to be operable? Who wants that one?
So,
you got
so
it.
So I'll talk technically, and Jeri can talk legally. But so we have basically two different types of sensors. One is looking for particulates or chemicals in the air. In that case, you want to position the drone in the middle of the cloud or plume of dust or chemicals that you're looking for. So if it's coming out of a smokestack, you want to fly near the smokestack or over the smokestack. If it's coming off of a spilled, turned over rail car or something, you want to sort of hover near the area like that. Now, if you're looking for a smuggler who has or a lost source, which is an amount of radioactivity in a car or on the ground, then you want to get as close to that as you can. If you're searching, you can do a pattern. You can search a pattern, and then on the screen where you're watching our data come in, you can see the red spots popping up on the map, and then you go back to the hot area and you hover over that area and you get a good reading.
Now, what do you want to add to that?
In terms of FAA regulations, our highest altitude is 400 feet currently, so
okay.
we have to. But for radiation detection, we wouldn't probably ever need to be that high. So.
Now, do they give you clearance to go into an area? For instance, if there's a scene that's, whether it's a crime scene or an accident, don't they clear airspace for you to either, obviously they have helicopters flying in, right? So wouldn't they clear space for a drone to come in?
There's regulations where we can't fly within 5 miles of an airport. So if we were going to be in that area, we would definitely call the air traffic controller and make them aware of our presence.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you launch these from an airport? It doesn't matter where you launch these from, right?
Well, we wouldn't launch them from an airport. We'd be as close to the natural disaster or the chemical spill or whatever it is that we're sensing, and we would launch directly from there.
So in our last interview,
Yeah.
one of the areas that I honed in on was the utilization of drones
Right.
as a first responder.
Yeah.
And your sensors with your drone, I see as a unique first responder, and with trained individuals that can control this, isn't there the potential to save lives and exposure of first responders?
Yes. That's the driving reason for this product, for this project, because you have these dangerous situations. You have places where you have to be an acrobat to get there anyway to make the measurement. You should have robots doing it, but robots can't get there because of rubble or whatever the problem is. So you got to fly there. And so the invention of the drones, it's just begging for more sensors to help out the first responders so they can do their job and not lose their lives.
Mm-hmm. So you went from selling drones for people to make pictures and photographs. Where do you think, and what do you think the size of this market is? I'm sure you've studied it, and you can recognize how large it is. Let's talk about some of these potential sales of this unit.
I think anything from Border Patrol, first responders, police, firefighters, seaports, anywhere where large groups of people congregate, so sporting events, concert venues, marathons, anywhere where there might be people at risk.
And for you, Bob, you're just seeing a continued way to deploy your sensors in a way that's never been done before, correct?
Correct.
So, Bob, it's almost the fourth quarter of 2016. We're heading into 2017. Where do you want to see the company in 2017? What would be some reachable milestones? And you don't only tell us what you can.
Yeah.
Where would you like to see the company?
Well, I would like to see us over the next several years selling, thousands of these drones. I think they're needed worldwide, and we're getting interest from other countries. We're marketing in the U.S., but we've got a lot of interest from China, from Europe, from Canada, and so I'm seeing this as a very big thing, and as I say, I don't see any competition at the moment, so it should go well.
And what would be some of your milestone wishes?
I would love to see every police unit have one of these drones with a sensor in every vehicle, every car. I can't understand why that wouldn't be the case. Again, we keep going back to it, but they save lives, and our first responders put their lives on the line every day.
Bob, let me start with you. How do you intend to commercialize this strategic alliance?
Good point. We've recently hammered out an agreement. Our original plan was just to sell the drones with the sensors, but we're now offering an annual lease, and we're also offering annual contracts, rent a pilot contract where we'll come out and do your job and go home. But you still, if you want to do it yourself, you do need a license.
Along the lines of commercialization of the drones, do the operators have to go through special training like pilots in a way?
Not necessarily training, but they do have to have aeronautical knowledge, and they do have to pass a test. It's the Part 107 Airman Certificate, or they get an Airman Certificate once they pass that test. So they do have to have knowledge of weather and reading maps and such.
So they're registered with the FAA, I imagine.
That's correct.
So they're actually complying with requirements from the FAA?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, so in terms of commercialization, you're intending, let me see if I can just summarize it.
Yeah.
You're not only able to buy a unit from your strategic alliance, but you could also lease a unit.
Yes.
You could also rent a pilot, so to speak.
Right.
And is there, do you actually provide the entire service of going out and let's say a police department calls you up, there's an emergency. Can you send a unit with the sensors and a person to do the job? I mean,
well, right. It's based on an annual contract.
Mm-hmm.
And if the user buys that contract, then we have different levels of service. A lot of these people schedule their service because they're required legally to do 4 flights a year. But we do have a on-call service as well.
So to market this, do you go to conferences and fly the drone around the Coliseum?
We'd like to. Most of the conferences are indoors. We're not allowed to fly them. But it wouldn't surprise me. We're signed up for a lot of conferences in the near future, and it wouldn't surprise me to see the drones flying in the parking lot.
Ladies and gentlemen, what's a good website for us to send our investor audience to find out more information?
Yeah, please look at us at usnuclearcorp.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, Robert Goldstein, US Nuclear Corp. It's a publicly traded company, and the symbol is UCLE, and Jeri Donaldson of Flycam UAV, a private company. I'm Shelley Kraft, and we're broadcasting from our studios in Los Angeles, California, and this was SNN Live. Thank you both for coming on to SNN Live.
Thanks very much.
Thanks for having us, Shelley.
Thank you.